So today I'm going to be smoking one of my favorite cuts of steak, but I'm not going to be cooking this steak like you normally would cook a steak. I'm going to overcook this steak so much that it becomes super tender, just like a brisket. This cut of steak is perfect for this, and I'm going to show you exactly why. So let's get right into it. Alright, so the steak I'm talking about is tri-tip. You can see this nice cut of steak. If you're not familiar with tri-tip, this is some of the best steak you can get. This is one of my favorite cuts of steak to cook. Lends itself great to marinades. Now, if you're not familiar with tri-tip, one of the first things you need to know is the grain pattern. The grains on this side go in this direction, but towards the tip here, they kind of spin out and go this way. So you're just gonna have to remember, when you cut this part, you want to cut it like that, and then the rest of it's going to cut like this. Now, the reason I think this is a perfect cut of steak for cooking like a brisket is because if you can get a good quality piece, there's great intermuscular marbling that's going to be perfect, and it comes out very similar to a brisket. The other thing, and you can see this one kind of is missing it, they usually have a nice fat cap on top of here. A lot of times if you find these in the store, they're going to go ahead and remove this. This still has a good amount of fat on top, so I'm pretty happy with that. And we're just going to leave that right on there. Now this bottom side though, I will trim a little bit of this silver skin off of here. And some of this fat on the bottom as well. Alright, so that is good enough for me. We don't want to do anything to this top side. We're just going to leave it just how it is. Nice layer of fat on there to render down. So let's go ahead and get this seasoned. Now, like a brisket, we're going to go pretty simple with this. I'm just going to do salt, pepper, and garlic today. And then the pepper I'm using is this butcher style pepper. You can see how big that pepper is. I like using this stuff on beef when I'm doing a low and slow cook. Gets a really nice peppery bark on there. And also when I season, I like to do the bigger ingredients first. So you can see, like I said, this pepper is very coarse. Well, that's what I should say. The coarser seasonings I like to go on with first, coarse to small. Just because if you start with a more fine seasoning, it's going to coat this all over. And it's going to be tough for the other seasonings to kind of stick to it. So I'm going with the pepper first. I'm going to put a good amount of this on there. Get these edges. Next, we're going to go on with salt. Kosher salt. That's going to be a little less coarse than that pepper, so that's why this is going on next. All right, then next we're going on with garlic powder because it's very fine. With a good piece of meat, this is really all you need. Now, if you want, you can go ahead with more complex rub, but something like a tri-tip, like a brisket, I think basic is better. You just want to get that nice beefy flavor. Plenty of pepper, but a little bit of garlic is nice. All right, so we'll flip it over, get the other side. Let's try and get some of this seasoning off the board while we're here. So more of that butcher style black pepper. If you want this butcher style black pepper, I'm not sure where you can get it. You might be able to find it on Amazon. I bought it at a restaurant supply store, but you can pretty much get anything on Amazon, so I wouldn't be surprised if it's on there. Then our kosher salt. And finish it off with a little bit of that garlic powder. And that is it. Just want to pat it in. Now let this sit for a little bit. And I'm going to be cooking this on my offset smoker. I haven't been using the offset smoker on the channel a lot, so I'm happy to get back into using that thing. Got a little bit of hickory wood I'm going to be running on it. But let's let this sit while we go out there, get the pit fired up, and then we'll throw it on the smoker. All right, smoker's all fired up. I got my blocker wood in there to stop that direct heat blast that this thing's gonna see. Let's go ahead and get this tri-tip right on like that. And that is it. Let's close this up. Now we just gotta wait and let it smoke. All right, so we got the tri-tip out on the smoker. This is gonna be a pretty basic cook. Now in the beginning, I do like to run the smoker a little bit in a lower temp range, probably around 225 to 250. Try and keep it below that 250 mark. I just want that to get a really nice smoke flavor on it. Once it starts getting a nice bark, I'm gonna go ahead and bump that temperature up just to start cooking it a little quicker. Now most likely we're gonna have to wrap this tri-tip up, but I don't wanna do that until we start getting a really nice dark colored bark on this tri-tip. Now I'm just gonna keep maintaining that smoker in that temperature range for the next 3 hours or so. Then we'll go ahead and give it a check. But since we're doing a video, you don't have to wait. Let's go out and give it a check now. So I know I said we were gonna check this in about 3 hours, but we had a little rain here. So it has been 6 hours with this tri-tip on, and it is looking fantastic. So it's got that beautiful bark I was looking for, and I think we're ready to wrap. Let's go ahead and give it a quick temp check to see where we're at. Looks like we are about 170, 174, 181 there at the end. So this is ready to wrap. So let's get this off, bring it in, and get it wrapped up. All right, so here's the tri-tip ready to be wrapped up. As you can see, we're gonna be using butcher paper, but check that out. Beautiful bark on there. It smells fantastic. Now something I like to do when wrapping up, a spritz bottle works great. I don't have one right now, so I'm just gonna pour a little bit of apple cider vinegar on this paper and then kind of just spread it all over. I think this vinegar soaked paper helps tenderize that meat a little bit, and it makes it a lot easier to wrap up. So let's go ahead and get this tri-tip on. So this is the fattier side on top. Obviously it doesn't have too big of a fat cap, but we're gonna try and keep that up. Now you can go ahead, add butter, tallow if you want. I'm just gonna go ahead and wrap it with straight paper today. Now with this vinegar soaked paper, you can really get a nice tight wrap on it, which is what you're going to want. And we are fat side up right now. So we'll give it one roll and then another. And there we are. Get this back on the tray. So this is going back on the smoker, and I'm gonna bump my temps up to around 275, 300 degrees, because wrapping it like this has really dropped the temperature. So we wanna bring it back up to temp as quick as we can, and that high temperature is really gonna let this finish pretty quickly. Shouldn't take too much longer because it is a smaller piece of meat, but it is totally fine to run around the 300, even to 325 mark to finish this off, because it's wrapped up, it's protected, it'll be fine. So that's the plan. I'm gonna bring this up to 200 to 205, somewhere in that range. Then I'll pull it off and let it rest for a bit, and then I will see you guys back out here when it is finished to slice it up. All right, so the tri-tip is done. I let it go probably for another 2.5, 3 hours. Once I wrapped it up and I threw it back on the smoker, I was able to maintain around 300 degrees on my smoker, so it cooked pretty quickly. I pulled it off at 205 degrees, and you definitely got to be careful. I checked it at about 2.5 hours or so, and it was probing around 195. It still felt a little tough, so I let it go. I checked in another 20 minutes or so, and we were already up to 205, and it was feeling super tender. So once you get up in the 190s, it's gonna raise pretty quickly, so just keep an eye on it. But let's go ahead and unwrap this and see how this tri-tip came out. Ooh, yeah, it smells really nice. Beautiful bark on here. Go ahead, check that out. Nice bark on there. This is gonna be a good piece of meat. So let's go ahead and slice this up. All right, so like I mentioned in the beginning, we're gonna have some of the grains going this way, but for the most part, we're gonna go that way. So what I like to do is just cut this tip off right here. Then we'll get a nice cross section. Check out that. That's a good looking piece of meat. You can see it's still juicy, even though it's a tri-tip and not a brisket. Still got plenty of juice in there. And check out that smoke ring on there. That is just incredible. For some reason, I've noticed when you cook the tri-tips like this, they get a crazy big smoke ring. All right, so let me go ahead, get some slices off of this piece here. I like to go more on the thinner side, just because this is going to be kind of like the lean part of the brisket. Still tender, I can see, and just check that out. That is a beautiful piece of tri-tip right there. You can see it's nice and tender, and when I pull it, just pulls right apart. And I could just tell by feeling this, it is not dry at all. Let me go ahead and give this a try. It's definitely got a different flavor than brisket. Let me try a more barky piece. So good. That butcher style pepper is very pungent and crunchy. It adds a phenomenal flavor to this. So this is still a little bit different than brisket, like I was saying. It has more of a steaky flavor, very beefy, but not pot roasty at all. It's a very unique flavor, and that's why I enjoy cooking these tri-tips up like this. This would go great with a little sauce on a sandwich or something like that. I highly suggest you giving this tri-tip a try, cook this way. And if you can find the one that has a nice fat cap on top, that's the route to go. And don't trim the cap off, just leave it on there. So good. And again, you can see how tender this is. Just pulls right apart. You really just can't beat this. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give it a like. And if you're interested in any of the products you see me use in my video, be sure to check out the description below. I list all those out where you can get them. And if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe right over here. And I'll leave a couple of good barbecue videos over here for you to check out. But most importantly, get out there and smoke something good.